In 2025, I completed a challenge to post at least one picture a day on Instagram 365 days in a row. I know this is a challenge that a lot of photographers took part in. Some succeeded, some failed. And today I want to talk about it. My name is Tony King. I'm a photographer, and this is my experience posting daily on Instagram for a year. I guess I've said that twice now. So, firstly, one of the most positive outcomes, and it's kind of obvious, is just consistency. And what does consistency bring? It brings improvement usually. To look at the images I started posting daily, there was one single image per day, and I was kind of drawing from older work, just trying to find my best work that I hadn't already shared. Because before this, all I did was, I found my best pictures and I would spam post them like 20 at a time, all on the same day, the moment I got them. So one other thing is, you got to hold on to your work sometimes and, choose a good moment to release it. I'm a person who really loves sharing, so not sharing something immediately was also a good practice for me there. But consistency was necessary. If I want to keep posting, if I want to post daily, well, I need to have enough work to post daily and enough work that I'm confident in saying, hey, this is a photo I took and I think this is good enough to share. And at the start of the year, I was like, oh, like this is what I've got. Okay, well, I got to post something. I gave myself the challenge, but that feeling made me go out more. It made me want to take better photos, and it kind of taught me to take better photos because as I'm taking photos, I'm thinking in my head, okay, like I don't want to just take photos that I think are like, okay, I want to take photos that I think are good enough that they can represent me to the rest of the world on social media. By the way, if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Tony King Pics. I'm not posting daily anymore, but I am still active there. So posting a few different times a week. So go ahead and follow me there if you want to stay up to date with, my work as it comes. Realistically, how many things can you say that you did 365 days in a row? I'm sure there's religious people who don't pray 365 days in a row. When it comes to working out, when it comes to a diet, there are cheat days. Well, I didn't miss a single day. And I think, it's just going on my phone, hitting post on a photo. But the practice of that is actually something that I'm proud that I did. Now, do I wish I did it with something a little bit more meaningful to me as, a person, whether it be with health, whether it be with, emotions or anything like that? Of course. But the fact that I proved myself that I could do something 365 days in a row and not mess up and not miss a day is actually a pretty good achievement. So that's another big thing psychologically that can come out of trying to post daily for an entire year, especially if you're able to succeed. Back to that consistency, to be able to get a higher quality of general work is the most invaluable part of this challenge, because as you run out of work, you have to go out and create more work. And you're always thinking about how can you better yourself and putting yourself in the situations to do better. And on the home front, because I did travel some and that travel did bring a lot of good work for me to share, I would go to the same locations a lot of times, especially this particular lake. And one of the things that I really learned there is how to diversify what I get from one specific location, but also how going there consistently can allow me to hone in on one specific thing, maybe whether it's bird photography, whether it's squirrels or deer or something that I want to improve upon, and not just get, I was there for 40 minutes and these are the pictures of birds I get. The best one of those is going to be the one that I share. No, if you keep going out and you keep trying to get better and better bird photos, let's say for this example, well, after 3 days in a row of going for 40 minutes, well, now you've gone out for a lot more than 40 minutes and you would probably gotten maybe on the second day, you got your best shot and that's the one that you decide to share. But overall, over the course of those 3 days, probably your work will have improved from where it was, before those 3 days. As I said, I was struggling to figure out which photos to post at the very beginning, and I was posting just single images. Originally, when I set out to do this, I told myself just post one photo a day and just leave it at that because, I didn't have that much to share. So I was like, well, I'm going to need to stretch, I pulled a bunch of photos. I was like, this is like 100. I'm going to need to stretch this out to 100 days. But by the end of it, I was sequencing at least 2 to 5 photos together, which goes to show the volume of work that I got. And that came from a lot of travel and trips that were very beneficial to me. And I'll get back to talking about the trip part later. But sequencing is actually the big lesson of this year of posting daily, because it's one thing to post one picture a day. And maybe at the start I was like, okay, I'm going to post 3 green photos, kind of leaves, something like this, all in a row so that on my feed or on my page or whatever, the 3 photos together look nice because there's 3 green, and then I could do 3 blue. And that's something that I started with. And that's not exactly sequencing. I guess it's akin to sequencing, but sequencing is very important for improving your craft as somebody who's going to try to submit to exhibitions and put things on the wall. I'm somebody who just made a zine, and sequencing images is so important for that. And if I want to improve upon that and make a book one day, I will need to have learned and practiced how to sequence images. And that is still something I'm working on. And as I did get this volume of work that I was happy with, that had a lot of images that I wanted to share, enough so that I could do that 2 to 5 images a day, I really had to challenge myself which of these photos actually work well together. And sometimes I did a lot better than other times. Other times I didn't do well at all. And you're like, why did these pictures even go together? Sometimes I just went off to like, these are 3 black and white photos and I'm going to put them here. And I need to do better than that. And that is going to be my new challenge on Instagram, is to really look back at my work and see how can I put certain photos together that will be improved by being next to one another. Hopefully they're good individual photos, of course, but how can I put them together to be really, really good photos all in one? So I'm going to try and do maybe 2 posts a week, which are really emphasizing how I'm working on sequencing. So it won't be single image posts again. It will be at least 2 to 5, maybe let's say like 3 to 6 photos, if not more, at a time, that I'm really going to work on trying to craft a story with. And that's how I'm improving there. But I will be honest, I was fortunate to take 2 big trips in the year of 2025. One to Jekyll Island, Georgia, which was, like a 4-hour drive. And we spent 4 days there. I got a lot of work that I'm happy with. And then I took a 2-week trip to Italy, which is where I'm from. And I'm fortunate to, have people I can stay with there. That really makes the cost of traveling there a lot smaller than it would be for somebody who doesn't have that. So that is a big benefit I have, and something that I definitely took advantage of in my photography this year. And my zine was created from photos in Venice, and a lot of the photos that I'm very happy with from 2025 were from Venice, and then my subsequent stop in Croatia. But I can't emphasize again how that practice at home, I say, at my home base, of going back to the lake, maybe going 3 days in a row trying to get just bird pictures, how that practice helped me excel on these trips. And so I would never take for granted that, okay, well, I'm going on a trip in a month and that'll get me a bunch of photos. I don't need to take any photos this month, or I can just kind of slack off. No, the practice is what's going to make you excel on that trip, and what worked for me. So hopefully I'm communicating that in a way that expresses how important I feel that was for me as a photographer this year, and how that helped me improve in what I was sharing on social media. And to the cons, I think the biggest con is the misconception that is associated with posting daily. I think consistency is great, and consistency is supposed to lead to higher engagement, likes, followers, all this on YouTube especially, I'd say, but Instagram has that same sort of feature. And I think realistically, we all know Instagram is not really a photography home anymore. It's more for reels, or they call it Instagram Reels. And you could post your photos as reels or in a reel. And I didn't do that. I didn't feel like doing that, but you could. But anyway, posting every single day, I put tags, I put locations, I put songs. I tried my best to make it look the best and everything. And the increase to my followers was very marginal. Most of my followers that I gained this year were from connections that I made in real life, or following other photographers who then followed me back. And, we got a little bit of communication there, or connection. But just posting daily did not bring that growth that I think people think they'll get just by posting daily. There's definitely more to it, whether it is making reels or face-to-face content video like I do on YouTube, but on Instagram, or having connections, or paying for ads, or I don't know, to boost the photos. I didn't do any of that. I just posted, and I got 4 or 5 likes on each photo, usually from more or less the same people. But let me be real here. Can you imagine like walking into a room and 4 people have something really, really nice to say about your photo, it's going to make you feel really, really good. So just because you didn't have 100 likes on an image, you might, for people really appreciating your work is a lot more valuable than people give it credit. Realistically, we want more and more likes because when you put something on the internet, on social media, you're giving access to that artwork to the entire world. So of course you would expect that the entire world is going to have the chance to like it. And the entire world, just because the entire world doesn't like it, well, it means that a lot of people don't like it. Well, I mean, realistically, not that many people are actually going to see it because it's such a saturated field on social media. So I would really discourage going into it for likes and followers and things like that, and really appreciate when you do get genuine feedback on work, when people genuinely enjoy it. I think that is the most important part of it, and probably what should be the most gratifying aspect of it at all when you're in person, especially. And the other con is that frankly, it got kind of exhausting. I was sick of just like going on Instagram, posting. Like, I feel like I was spamming. I feel like I was being a little annoying, especially like kind of halfway through and on. But it was kind of like, well, I'm kind of sick of posting daily. It's just too much. But a couple of things that helped me out were pre-sequencing my images. I would, get the images from my computer onto my phone and create albums called Unscheduled 1, Unscheduled 2, Unscheduled 3, etc. all day in the hundreds. And then, once I posted them, I would change that album to done 1, done 2, done 3, or just delete it if I didn't really want the photos or need the photos on my phone anymore. And the other thing is on Instagram, you can actually schedule posts 30 days in advance. And so I did that for a while, but then actually there's some sort of glitch because I would add locations, I would add songs, but then when I posted it, it would post it without the song or the location. So I would still have to go every day and add the song and the location. So I still had to do something every single day to the photos, which is a little annoying, but I mean, I can't really complain too much. I already picked the photo, wrote the caption, added the tags, and scheduled it. It came out on, perfectly on the time that I wanted it to, I suppose. So that is something that helped, but still it did get pretty exhausting. And like, I don't want to be on Instagram all the time posting photos, but that would be my advice. Try to think ahead, try to make it all more manageable. You start running this factory of images, try to make it cohesive, try to make it something that you don't have to do religiously every single day, something that you can be consistent about without, having to divert all your attention upon it. It should be like a practice that becomes second nature. And that's, going back to like doing something for 365 days in a row, there's always cheat days. If you don't want cheat days, it has to become something kind of subliminal. And so maybe doing a couple of these practices with unscheduled albums or specific albums already and scheduled posts can help you get further in that direction. So I think I've blabbed and I haven't really been in order of things I wanted to talk about, I suppose. But like I said, when I move forward on Instagram now, I'm going to be working on sequencing my images and trying to improve my craft in that way, because I think in the future, that is going to help me become better at making zines, better at submitting my portfolio for galleries, better at hopefully one day making a book. And so this is the skill set that I'm now working on. Now that I have that consistency from last year, posting every single day, and that improved quality, I'm going to, hopefully remain consistent. That is something that I have to stick with, of course. You can't just practice something and then just drop it. I need to remain consistent. I need to maintain the level of photography that I'm producing, that I'm happy with. That is obviously the most important part. But now that I have that and that I feel that I have that, I can go to the next step, which I think is improving how I can create a visual landscape of my work as a whole. So that is my next challenge. Hopefully you'll follow my journey on Instagram at Tony King Pics, where I'm going to be posting that, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video just like this, but about that topic once I feel very confident about it, which will hopefully be sometime in 2026 or at the end of the year. We'll see. But I'm always trying to learn, always trying to improve, and I'm talking a lot about my work on YouTube now, analyzing my work, and that has also been a wonderful practice for me to reflect and see where I could improve or where I was at a certain point, what I need to appreciate about that point in time that helped me get to where I am now. Because sometimes you need to look back and say, okay, that was something important. I need to appreciate that and focus on that maybe a little bit more. I've lost track of that at some point along the way. So anyway, I'm talking way too much. So I've been Tony King. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're taking on a challenge to post 365 days on Instagram, good luck. I wish you the best. Let me know in the comments. I'll try to keep up with it. And without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.